But Cardew also remains the ultimate example of an attitude to music making that is characteristically British.
Most composers, most musicians are involved in some sense with the community, in the sense that they write music for amateur musicians, or they will work on education projects in the community or in schools. And this tradition goes back to Gustav Holst.
During this period, all the country's most eminent composers continued this tradition. From Benjamin Britten, who wrote music for children and amateurs throughout his career, to Michael Tippett, with his extraordinary commitment to the Leicestershire School's Symphony Orchestra.
The collection of instruments in Leicestershire is something you don't believe it till you see it. When I see this brilliant young drummer playing with a set of timpani, 400 quid timpani that are as good as and up to date as been played by the BBC, I know we've got somewhere.
To Peter Maxwell Davies, whose experience of working with and writing for children went back to his days teaching at Cirencester Grammar School.
It was the sheer uninhibitedness of those children which inspired me, and without that experience of working with them, I would have never written 8 songs for a Mad King or the other pieces which I wrote, the music theatre pieces. I really owe so much to those 3 years working really at the cold face, if you like, in music education.
Now, you don't get pop musicians and rock musicians doing that. That's why we are better than them, because the commercial interests which drive pop music are not the interests that drive composers. I think that European composers differ from British ones in the sense that they don't do these things either. It's a very British thing.
The 60s and 70s also saw the flowering of Britain's most ambitious attempt to democratise access to classical music making. Suddenly, children had cupboards of instruments to choose from and free lessons from visiting teachers.
Every Saturday, at the cost of the authority, coaches and buses go to fetch the children from all over the area and brings them to a large campus of comprehensive schools where it is possible to have as many as 3 orchestras. The great thing is that if you have a whole authority interested, then of course all the schools are involved together. It's not that you have to have everything from the heart of one school, however large. Everybody's involved, so that your extra school activities, like music and so forth, can be done from all the schools with endless and fantastic possibilities.
I was the beneficiary of free music education. I learnt the clarinet, for better or for worse, and was a member of a youth orchestra. And I think that was a huge strength of music in the 60s and 70s, music education in the 60s and 70s in this country, in that young people had access to instrumental learning and they had access to a whole pyramidic structure of youth ensembles, you know, the pinnacle of which is the very famous National Youth Orchestra of Great Britain, to which everybody aspired, and you know, many young musicians still do. I travel a lot and talk to a lot of people abroad, and they all look to this country's music education with huge envy. They look to our kind of British pragmatism and our British practicality with music with great envy. The fact that music is not in an ivory tower.